The people of Ekiti State have decided the wait is now over for who will be the next governor for the next 4 years for the people of Ekiti State. They have decided, and now we will get to know. Welcome, everyone.
Is cast. The people have voted. The voice is heard loud and clear. A new governor will emerge as Governor Fayemi's second term winds down. Who will be the next governor of the state of the fountain of knowledge? The stakes are high. The fate of over 3 million people are on this election. The #1 seat is in contention. The government house is the goal. Who will it be? As we wait with bated breath, results are collated, but we monitor the results digitally. Our election results analysis dashboard is ready. And now,
the Ekiti people have decided they can no longer wait. Who will be the next governor for the next 4 years? That decision they have made with their thumb today. Welcome, everyone. And a review of what the next governor of Ekiti State will have to deal with, what he has to do to govern the people of Ekiti State. Over 3 million population and about 1 million people who have gone to vote. Tonight, we're making history as we give Nigerians the opportunity, first-hand opportunity to be in the know about what decision the people of Ekiti State have made. We can no longer allow people to circumvent the exercise. So Channel Television and its partners, Yiaga Africa, are bringing to you the election results analysis dashboard, the ERA, where we can online and real-time monitor the results as they come to you from the different polling units and the wards and across the areas of Ekiti State. Welcome everyone to our continued coverage of the Ekiti State Governorship Election 2022. We get started tonight to let you know what has happened today. But beyond that is to put you in the know, the usual ways that you have to go through to know what has happened across the different polling units. We'll break it down for you as we open tonight our election dashboard, which will give you all what you need to know as far as this election is concerned. And of course, you can get to know what exactly is happening as far as these results are coming. So of course we know that the results are coming real time. We can see who has what and who exactly is getting what in all of the different polling units. And let me give you an understanding of what you may be getting in the coming hours and of course in the coming days. The fact that, look, most of the results that you're seeing and the ones that have been collected so far, you get a feel of all of these tonight, everyone. We'll take a break, everyone, and when we come back, I'll give you an idea of what this is all about. The ERA, the election result analysis dashboard, what it means and what it tends or what it portends for our election in Nigeria. Stay with me, everyone. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we get right into it. Everyone for staying with us right here on Channel Television's continued coverage of the Ekiti State governorship election. The voting seems to have been over in most parts of the state. 16 local government area, 177 wards, and over 3,000 or so polling units in Ekiti State. People have gone out to elect a new governor. But Channel Television and its partner Yiaga Africa has embarked on this exercise to give you an insider view on what has happened, and that's why we have embarked on the election result analysis dashboard to give you an understanding of what exactly you need to know as a voter and as a Nigerian, trying our best to ensure that the landscape of electoral process and democratic process in Nigeria is totally changed. Transparency, accountability, and trust in the system. And so For the first time, you will be seeing results has been displayed on a broadcast organization. Thanks to our partners, Yiaga Africa, who we are collaborating with to give us an understanding. And the executive director of Yiaga Africa, Samson Itodo, is live with me here in our studio in Ekiti. Thank you so much, Samson.
Thanks, always delight to be here.
Absolutely. Give us an understanding. A lot of our viewers who are watching tonight do not understand or may not know what the ERAD is all about. What are we going to unveil to them tonight?
Well, there's a lot that we're unveiling tonight, and I'd say congratulations to both channels and also Yiaga Africa doing this. The election results viewing portal is a portal that provides public access, to the results published on INEC's IREV. INEC has this innovative, transformative tool, which is the election results viewing portal, where polling units results, are displayed online for the public to see. It's a demonstration of transparency, and this is what Nigerians have been clamoring for. And INEC has that portal. And with the new law, this is the portal INEC is using for electronic transmission of results. And so, on the INEC's result viewing portal, the public is required to log in. You can create accounts, log in, and you can access the polling unit results. In fact, for this election, there are over 300 results that have been uploaded on the portal.
Already?
Already. But we know that it's not everybody in Ekiti or in Nigeria that has internet access to access this portal. And so this ERAD is to provide wide public access. We are only supporting INEC, to reach more people with the results, given the commitment that it has. But at the heart of this is to note that INEC has the statutory responsibility to declare results. So we are not declaring results. We're only helping INEC say, hey, you've got this result on your platform, but members of the public need to see this. And Channels TV, being Nigeria's first television and most popular television station, is using this platform to reach more people. So this is what the results viewing portal is about. It's about technology, it's about data, and there's a whole lot of work going on behind the scenes to get the results to the Nigerian public in real time. Again, we're not declaring results. INEC has a duty to declare the results, but it's not our responsibility. So what we're doing is to say, helping INEC do what? Just help the public's have access to these results.
And so when people want an open source to democratic process, when they want transparency in the process, when there was a lot of clamor about the Electoral Act and the innovations that people said they wanted to see, and when Yiaga Africa approached Channels Television and we sat down and we were looking at how best we can achieve this, we said for a moment, is this result going to be different what from INEC is going to be declaring?
Well, this is not going to be different, right? We expect that it's not different because, as you know, the whole results management process, once voting stops, the presiding officers count the ballot, they sort and then they count, and they enter the results into the form called the Form EC8A. So the form contains information around number of accredited voters, number of votes scored by different political parties. And then, using the BVAS, the polling officials will take a picture of the results sheets and upload on the portal. And so when that result is uploaded on the portal, it's already in the public domain. So we expect that at the end of the day, the results that INEC already have on its website will not be different from what will be declared finally. But at the word collation level, sometimes there are cancellations, sometimes there are computational inaccuracies. This ERAD is also going to help us detect that. And I see this playing a huge complementary role. And we hope that this will further enhance the transparency and integrity of our results management process, which has always been the weakest link within our electoral process. So this intervention by Channels and the Yiaga Africa is really deepening the transparency of our electoral process, but complementing INEC's work towards opening up the process for members of the public to see this. And I say this, Sheon, this has never happened before.
Absolutely.
In fact, the fact that INEC even has the result viewing portal is unprecedented, and Nigerians should actually celebrate that. but see that as an opportunity to how we can keep watch over the results collation process so that, political entrepreneurs who are interested in undermining the votes don't have the opportunity to do so. But with this level of transparency, it will limit electoral fraud.
I must say congratulations to Yiaga Africa.
No,
congratulations to Channels Television, and congratulations to the people of Ekiti State, because it will go down in history as the state where this is being first experimented. We are breaking ground right here in Ekiti. The moment when Nigerians are able to follow through and have a process that is transparent, and of course, let us clear it out. This is exactly what it should be, as far as the case may be, in terms of what you get on the at the polling unit is what you see here, and that is what you should see. I mean, don't forget, my very good friend, one of the board members of Yiaga Africa, himself and I banter on this matter, that the devil in the electoral process is that night in the evening period where people had gone to rest after voting. That is where the unscrupulous politicians manipulate the results during the collation period. But that may not happen again, because keep your eyes right here as you're following this process, and we're collating and putting those results together. You can keep tabs on it, have the result, and monitor what INEC is declaring, what those returning officers are declaring at INEC office, and you can compare notes.
That's right. It's really exciting. I'm really excited, and this is what democracy should look like. But also kudos to INEC, because if INEC had not created the opportunity, like with the IREF, we couldn't have been doing this.
I mean, imagining if our electoral process gets digital through and through, this shows the possibility of what we could have in our electoral process.
It does. If you look at how the BVAS, has functioned, Yiaga Africa is also deploying the PVT, and we have data from, the polling units, because we deployed over 500 observers, and shown in over 94% of polling stations that we observed, the BVAS functioned optimally, and in 6%, the BVAS malfunctioned, but it was fixed. So this really marks an improvement in the process. And what we have seen from this election shows what is possible and what technology can do. I hope that we continue on this trajectory and not get complacent. But let's wait. It's not over yet.
It's not over yet.
It's not over yet.
We've not crossed the Rubicon yet.
That's right.
So let us, a lot of people will be wondering what this exactly is all about. Okay, I'll come to this just in a moment. This is what INEC has done, the IREF. So if you look at what, let me give you an understanding of so far what we have. So far, 8 results have been entered of 2,445 results that have been expected. So if you look at it, there we go. So we have results from Ekiti South local government, and you can see how many of those results have been entered. We'll go into the details much later, so you can have an understanding of how the different political parties are performing and what you can see. You can monitor it real time as those results are being collated and as they're coming. Also, you can see in Ekiti East how many results have coming so far. So you can see also, monitor how many, what each of the political parties have garnered so far. Also, if you go to a third local government, I think we've not got, okay, Ekiti, so you can also have an understanding of what is happening, the results that have coming so far. So if you look at it, a summary, total registered voters 179,000 in these local government area. The number of people, based on the results that have been entered, it gives you an understanding. And we will get into all of what you need to know as far as this election is concerned, but just to give you an understanding of how those results are coming in, what they mean in terms of collation, and what you should expect. Just keep your eyes on it, because a whole lot of this will be bringing to you something. Are you excited?
No, I'm very excited, and it's also worth emphasizing that these are results that are uploaded on INEC's election results viewing portal.
Absolutely.
And so these are official figures and results already in the public domain. So we're not doing anything new. What we are simply doing is to help the public understand and make a sense of the results already uploaded on INEC's portal. So the source for these are results that INEC has already put out there from the polling stations. And it's good to see that the results are coming in gradually.
Just as much as we have it, was 11 few seconds away ago, and it's now 12. But don't you worry, we have all of these covered for you, and you'll be able to see what this means altogether. And of course, this is a result from 2018, the last election, and election that we are monitoring for you. So far, the color codes, you can make sense of what is happening. It is not a concluded election yet, but so far this is what is looking like based on the results that have so far come in. This is the election of today and what we have received, but this is what was when the APC Fayemi won the election in 2008. We get into more details of that. Thank you so much.
Always a delight, and congratulations.
Congratulations.
Really excited about this, and this is gift to Nigerian public to keep following the results because the vigilance is what we require to enhance the credibility of our elections. But you know, we couldn't have done this again without INEC for actually providing the online results very important to be able to do this. So congratulations also to INEC and also to Channels and to Yiaga Africa.
Thank you so much, appreciate it. Congratulations to INEC, because you know what? Your work just got easier. The more people trust the system, the more the system works. That's what a lot of people think. So we're getting the system working better by providing this platform. We can get you to as much as the details of what results are in the polling unit. You will see it, and I can go to the polling unit of your choice, and we get to view what it's all about here, right now, right here, live on our ERAD, the electronic. The election results analysis dashboard. We'll take a break, everyone. And when we come back, the analysis will just get started. Stay with us. It's Ekiti Decides, right here on Channels Television, in partnership with Yiaga Africa. ERAD is what you're seeing right here. We'll be right back. Stay with us right here on Channels Television. The results are trickling in, they're coming in, and we're monitoring as they're coming. And of course, those blue areas are those where you can find the results coming. 22 so far entered. Not entered in the sense that that is what we have on our host right now. Out of the 2,444 results from the different polling units that we are hoping will come. That's a summary of the results so far entered, and as soon as more are entered, we will get them for you. And of course, what you can expect is the fact that at the end of the day, some of these faces that you see right here on your screen, you get to know what they have garnered in this election. The election was started at 8 a.m. That's when INEC was setting up, and voting commenced at 8:30 a.m. And what INEC continued to use is bimodal accreditation process, where that device was used to accredit voters, and in the end, they used it to capture them, and afterwards, used that same device to get the result up on the out into the iRev, which INEC, the portal where INEC results are being dumped. And well, today we saw most of the major candidates go to vote. Let me begin by letting you know what happened in the different camps and the different polling units of the major candidates that we've monitored. Let's begin with the candidate of the Socio-Democratic Party, Engineer Shegun. He voted at this polling unit, and take a listen to what he said after he voted.
I would say it went without hitch, but you cannot use an occurrence to judge the overall results of an election. I've received reports of vote buying in Ado, and I've received the reports of vote buying in Oye, Those are the adverse reports I've received so far. Whatever they do, we will beat them. Ekiti people and Nigerians know who will win these elections. It's not like an election that we can say is hanging. This is not hanging. I think something has changed, and that is the confidence of the people has boosted a bit. I was told of the massive turnout in Ado, and I believe it is like that everywhere.
Well, then you have Engineer Shegoni of the SDP who voted at the Unit 6, Ward 2 in Ifaki. What about the APC candidate Abayomi Oyebanji? He voted at Ward 6, Unit 3. Take a listen to what he said after he voted.
This one is entering my camera.
The process is seamless. I've just cast my votes and everything went very well. I must commend INEC for the improvements on their last outing. It went very well. Definitely, in every process, there will be room for improvements. But this is an improvement upon their last outing. So I hope that they will keep improving on this. And I hope that it's like this across the state. You know, this is just a ward or a unit. So far, so good in this ward. Security is okay. And I hope that it's like that across the state.
What feedback?
What do you expect? I expect to be victorious.
Right, that is the APC candidate. The PDP candidate voted in F1 specifically at Unit 2, Ward 8. Bisi Kolawole, the candidate of the PDP. And here are his thoughts after he voted.
I've had relative peace here. So far, so good. You can see that my unit is getting scanty because we started voting very early. And all is well. This, up to now, I cannot complain about any particular issue. The security agents are there. I'm talking about my unit, The security agents are here, and they have been able to maintain peace as far as the situation is concerned.
What do you expect of the outcome?
Well, I'm very hopeful. I've worked very hard. And the people cannot wait to have me as their next governor, at the grace of God. I'm very optimistic. I know it's God that appoints the king. It's God that anoints the king. I'm telling you, God has anointed me. God has crowned me with the governorship slot in Ekiti State. And you are talking to your next governor in Ekiti.
To have it. So pretty much some of the major candidates, you've heard them, the responses to what happened after they voted. But of course, another thing that caught the eye of everyone was this operation by the EFCC. We were told yesterday by the resident electoral commissioner for INEC in Ekiti State, who told us that the EFCC were on the ground from yesterday and they did make some arrests. They lost some homes where the and people were selling votes, and so they went into there, and China Television caught some of these when we saw on tape the money that was collected from them, an envelope, the label with particular voting units, and there is a list of those who are supposed to be beneficiaries of these monies. EFCC came down on them, arrested them. We understand that this is being done by the EFCC operatives on the zone in charge of Ekiti, Kwara, and Kogi State, and we understand that investigation. Investigation, that's what we know, they've been arrested. That's what we know as of today.
PCN, Messi, with all their name and their phone number, look at it. What are you talking? Look at it.
We give you more updates. As we know, in most of the polling units, we can tell you that voting has ceased, voting has ended. Sorting of ballots is also on in some polling units, and in other polling units, calculation at the ward levels. But let's get a sense of the ERAD and what this means for our electoral process. I'm being joined by Mr. Ezenwa Nwago, a member of the board of Yiaga Africa, and of course a program officer at Director of Programs at Yiaga Africa, Ms. Cynthia Mbamalu. Thank you so much, gentlemen and lady. I met Mr. Nwago on the field, and here you are. How excited are you about what we are unveiling tonight? Because we have not even gotten into it just yet. Let me begin with you, Cynthia.
Well, I think first we're really excited because one of the things we hope to achieve with the ERAD is to promote transparency of the elections results management process. INEC had introduced the IREV, and thankfully the new Electoral Act now makes it legal for electronic transmission of results. So what it basically seeks to achieve is, with the introduction of the IREV, the INEC's result elections viewing portal, voters can actually follow the results from wherever they are, the polling unit level results. But ERAD is a complementary system that helps promote the transparency of that process. Now, voters, wherever they are, can tune into channels, and they can follow the results in near real time. And we can see the speed at which these results are being uploaded at the polling unit, which is quite commendable. But now we can also have a broader sense across the state, because if you go on the portal, it takes you time because you need to go to polling unit by polling unit. But with the ERAD, it simplifies the whole idea of elections results viewing. So at just in one glance, you can have a sense on how the results are coming in across the states, and you can also have a sense on what is going on across LGAs and its senatorial. So that level of data disaggregation, and it gives you a sense on how the parties are performing across board, but also real elections data on accredited data on accredited voters, register of voters, and the spread across the state. So I think for us this is a game changer, because we want to ensure that as citizens, I think one of the goals a lot of voters have always looked forward to in the elections is that the process is more transparent and they can guarantee that votes are actually counting.
Of course, look at it right there. Some of the results have been entered. Just as Cynthia was talking, it was 44 results, but it jumped to 56 results, and it will keep jumping and coming in. But look at it, the results are coming. We have many pages, as you can find them, of the results. The interesting part is that if you tell me where you monitored, I can tell you the result right here by simply just searching through all the polling units. I can tell you where every candidate voted as soon as that result is being uploaded. Ezenwa, what are your views on this?
Well, I think this partnership with Yiaga and channels has the capacity to glue your viewers on television. Election enthusiasts all over the world, both within the country and outside the country, can now, real time, follow these results that are mined from the polling units. And that's revolutionary. It's never been done in this country. And I think that is something that we should celebrate. And we're happy that it's happening between Yiaga and channels for the first time. And it's exciting for all of us.
When this idea came first, and some people thought it's never going to be possible, especially with the timing that came with it. It looked like an impossibility. But he's here live with us, and people are still probably imagining what exactly is happening. It is happening. And let me tell you, wherever you may be watching, everyone, you can follow us online, hashtag Ekiti Decide, hashtag ERAD, E-R-A-D, hashtag ERAD. Get to know what exactly is happening as far as the result is concerned, and so that you can get a view of what is happening so far. This is the summary of it all. 64 results entered so far, and it keeps coming. And you can see how these results are coming so far. We take a break, Ezra and Cynthia, but when we come back, we'll punch into some of these results and the development based on what you monitored and what is happening and what we have seen so far today. Stay with us. It is the special studio for ERAD between China's Television and Yiaga Africa. We take a breather and we'll be back to talk more about the specifics. Who got what, how they got it, how the election went, the conduct, the security, and a lot of the logistics issue that came on the Ekiti governorship election. More importantly, how the electoral process in this country can be improved. Transparency is the name of the game, and that's why we are here for you. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Everyone, wherever you may be watching, Ekiti decides, and the ERAD studio, in partnership with Yiaga Africa and China's Television, we're bringing to you the result digitally as we're getting them. So far, what do we have? So far, hopefully, we're going to 2,445. We're looking at the species, how much of the votes they are able to garner. Let's give you an understanding of just how far they've gone in this election. Take a look at it. That is a summary. Let's look at a chart summary of how far they've come. So each of the political parties, you can see the color codes. We'll get into all of that in a moment. This is based on 88 results so far entered out of 2,444. And we go deeper to let you know what has happened based on the words and indeed the local government area. So if you go into Ekiti now, it gives you an understanding of how the results have been collated, and I can easily just tell you that if you look at it, so let me go back, and give you an understanding of, okay, so you go and you see who gets what? APC, PDPs, SDP, and the ADP. That is what they've been able to garner so far. Isn't what, Cynthia? What are your thoughts? It's result we're going into 2,445. But this is what is looking like so far.
Well, I think it's nice to see that the results are coming in, because this is barely 6 p.m. and we can see that results are being uploaded on the IREV, and we can see that on our ERAD. And what we can see is just telling us the elections results story. And I think it's interesting because a lot of people, especially for the ADP, for instance, that's the only female candidate, right?
There are two of them actually, two female.
Two female, but
Elebute Hali here.
And we can see that not performing as great, but this coming so far, at least she has some votes. That's a good story to tell. But you can also see the disparities here. However, it's too, we just have 88 results coming in. So, but I think one of the things to also look out for is, where do we have polls concluding faster? Could it be that we have polling units with smaller number of registered voters concluding earlier than polling units with more registered voters?
So let's look at it, where we are having. So basically we're having in Ekiti East, that's one of the local government areas that we're having. Then also we're seeing results coming from Ekiti. So far we've seen how many results so far from Ekiti, Ekiti. This is what we're having so far from Ekiti. And if you go now to Ekiti Southwest. So those are the three local government areas where the results have so far been entered, and 93 results. Just when you were talking was 88, it jumped to 93. Isn't it?
So if you see the change that happened, it talks about punctuality index for INEC, for instance. If the polls opened on time, if accreditation happened seamlessly, then you are likely going to see results, early results. So the connection between when polls opened and the results that we're getting is something that we need to give. I think INEC has a chest-thumping right at this point to say, hey, today we did excellently well with when the polls opened. And you know the Yiaga Africa data on that, by 7:30, 75% of election officials were already 7:30. That's really something. And it's important that we point out again that for logistics issues, Ekiti brought an innovation. The moral traditional authority that was inflicted on the road transport vendors, it seems to have worked out very significantly for the kind of things that we're seeing. But it's too early. Let's hope that we can begin to see more and more of those results. But even significantly, just a few minutes, 88 and now 93, and who knows, by the time you go back, it could be 100. I think we're doing great.
So if we can, the cameras can come closer to this, so it gives you a summary of what the votes are in these 3 local governments so far that we have result entered. So it gives you an understanding of not just what they've garnered in terms of the votes, but also just even before pointing at it, as I'm pointing at it, it gives me an understanding of what each of the political parties have garnered. So you can have a percentage summary and also tell you the total vote scored in each of the political parties and each area where they are with their color code. So 53% so far in the result area being for the APC, 17 points.
And these are INEC results. We must continue to emphasize that these are results that are released at the polling units. And those results are INEC results that we are mining and we are putting out to people to real time to be able to appreciate what this new innovation in result management has brought about for us.
Yeah, I think something also is striking is the fact that we need to appreciate the progress in our electoral process. Once upon a time, we couldn't track results in near real time. But the introduction of technology and this innovation in the results management process has given us that ability to follow the results as the results are counted and uploaded at the polling level. And I think for this is also for citizens and voters to appreciate that the process is getting better, and all that is required is for voters to actually learn to start to vote, because votes are beginning to count and technology is helping the process become a bit more transparent than what it was before.
All right, I'll take you to a terrain where we need to do a bit of analysis. This will become a bit more clearer when most of the results have coming. But if you look at pattern also are very good in political science and in election discussions. So you look at the pattern. So if you look at what happened as far as 2018 is concerned, a lot of people will tell you that this local government is very important. So total registered voters as of this time 167,000. But so far, if you look at the year, total registered voters 179,000. There is a significant jump of over 10,000 voters who have since collected their permanent voter cards, and that has jumped. And a lot of people will tell you that this local government at Ekiti, you need to look at it, very, very important, significant, is a metropolitan city or town of Ekiti, has the population, the voters are more there, and of course the politicians also are hoping to grab as much as they can. But you were here, what are your views about Ekiti and what it portends for this election?
Well, the sing-song here is that anyone that gets Ado will eventually carry the day, especially if you now get Ikere combined with Ado together. And so it's helpful to know what the parties did with Ado in 2018. If we see how they fared, maybe that will help us to interpret perhaps what is playing out already on the ERAD for 2022.
All right, so if you look at what happened here in Ado in 2018, just the last election, you saw how the political parties fared. The APC had 44% of the vote out of the 167,000, and it was the party who won the election. So going by what you said about Ado, and whoever gets Ado, in terms of the margin of votes, if you get a lot of votes in Ekiti, you almost are home and dry, because you then just need a few local government to beef up, and you just need the spread. So this is how they fared the last time.
So it tells you that eventually all the politicians target in the Ekiti state target Ado. They play a lot of their game here, and the bulk of the votes are here really. Maybe beyond Ikere, like I said, I don't know if there's any other local government that has as much.
So yeah, if you votes, go to Oye and a record. Oye also is very weak, which is why you usually have incidents of violence there, because they also have a good number. And, you know, beyond just getting the number, you need the spread. So the spread across the geopolitical zones, across the senatorial districts. So if you look at, yes, Electoral also gives you a good number because it's one of the local government that has a high number of registered voters. If you look at the trend, you see at this place, the difference shows that they got the numbers here. If you also go to Oye, you can also see.
Okay, now. Trying to understand
Ikole also gives you a good number. 60, yes, so if you go to Oye also.
This, Ikole 63, Oye gives you 60.
So Oye also gives you a good number because of the number of registered voters in that particular location. So why they fight for Ekiti, I think when it comes to winning elections in Ekiti State, the calculation is try to get a good number from Ekiti, and when you know it's not your stronghold, then you balance it across the other polling LGAs that have a good number of registered voters and PVCs collected, because at the end it's those with PVCs that determine those that will turn out to vote. But beyond that is also the spread. So most times the central is where you have a lot of contention, because the central gives you a higher percentage of the registered voters. So, and that's where Ekiti is.
Absolutely. So, I mean, politicians are looking at basically some of these, you need to get hold of some of these.
These are the rivers, Kano and Lagos of Ekiti.
So if you get hold of these, you are home and dry. But, well, one thing is very clear. Whoever has not done the homework by now is too late.
Yes.
Sure. But it's just good for us to know that what happened in the past could also give us an insight of what may happen in the present. So far, how many results do we have so far? Let's see our chart summary again. All right, so just a few minutes ago, it was 90-something. It is jumped to 111 results that are coming out of 2,445. So let us tell you again that these are results based on what INEC has it on its portal. We're just putting that together for you to be able to get of what it is all about. So that is what you get. The APC, the PDP, the SDP, and the ADP. That is what they've done out of the 101 results that are coming so far. So far, that's where we are. So if you look at it, yet again. So this brings us to this summary, everyone. So you get to see there how they fared.
Yeah. So I think maybe perhaps this can also certify that it's a three-horse race. But I think towards the end we would know if it was truly a three-horse or two-horse race.
Okay, so we jumped from 3 local government that have come into 5 now.
There's something that is exciting about the Ekiti elections, the 2022 Ekiti elections, is unpredictability. The fact that we are no longer in a position to make that determination. And so even as we're looking at this, there is a sense of, caution in terms of we can't, and 101 results by this time, who knows? Let's keep tracking and seeing what's playing. But what is important is that the predictions before this time is that it will be a three-horse. But I'm happy Cynthia is saying, who knows? We may just eventually get a two-horse eventually.
So another thing that is very significant in this race is the fact that if you look at how things are panning out, it gives an understanding of what Ekiti people believe. So you look at it, Shegwoni didn't get a second term. Fayoshe didn't get a second term immediately. Fayemi didn't get a second term immediately. Ekiti people and Ekiti politics have been characterized the fact that they usually do not give a second term immediately to politicians. So we do not know whether or not how this time Fayemi is not looking for a second term. He's spending a second tenure in office. But what will it be? Are they going to swing to the red? Are they going to swing to the blue or to the green? Which of the political parties, or in fact to the amber? Where are they going to swing into? But so far, this is what we have. But that pattern, what does it mean for our politics? I mean, I have a feeling that voters have the power to change you if you have not performed. And they have the power to bring you back if they think they deem you fit back to the position. That power is, or that opportunity or that privilege is powerful, isn't it?
Well, I hope that the tides are not changed like the Boko say there, and all those other things that play
that characterize the election,
that have characterized the election from 2018 till now. I hope we can truly say duly, what did we say in our report? Duly elected or duly purchased, you know. So that, for me, is the worrisome part of this. But the uniqueness of the Ekiti pattern is that it tells you the story of the power of the voters and how they can determine things. And I hope they can carry that on. If they want you, they keep you there. If they don't want you, they bring you. They sack you. And that's. But there's been. Let's see how it goes. By this time, perhaps tomorrow, we should be able to then say whether that pattern has been maintained or if it has been reversed.
I mean, Cynthia, you have to put in the work, and this election is also coming at a point in time where a lot of people are talking about the 2023 election. There seems to be a lot of war on social media, especially on Twitter. Each time I get there, it's too hot for me, I just run out, because the heat is so much that people get, supporters of different political parties are fighting consistently on Twitter. But this opportunity that our viewers and Nigerians have, that no more would you take Nigerians for granted. If you don't perform, we sack you. If you don't do well, we will not return you. If you're not fit, we will not get you into office. But beyond that is the fact that the process is transparent. And when people are thinking that, yeah, our votes count and you're not selling it, it gives you some level of courage. And I saw a huge turnout as far as the eyes can see. But at the end of the day, in the end, the figures will determine whether it was a better turnout or not.
I think, like you said, the fact that the process is getting more transparent should increase that enthusiasm amongst voters and citizens. So if you go on Twitter, the war for next election has started. But I think what is important is for voters to understand that it's beyond Twitter, because you need to actually go out to vote. Because at the end, these numbers are made up, is calculated based on those who go to the polling units to vote. But also, it's beyond just coming out to vote. It's also understanding the spread and how elections are won. Because at the end, to win elections, you need to have a quarter of the votes cast and at least two-thirds majority of the LGAs or the states, as the case may be if it's for national elections. So getting the numbers is beyond just having popular votes, but you also need the spread across and to create that balance to have the votes. But with this, I believe that a lot of viewers and voters watching would actually begin to understand that votes are counting. Whether it's votes bought, we do not know that. But if we can even increase turnout, you cannot buy as many votes if the turnout is high. So it's also about that consciousness that the process is getting better, the numbers are beginning to count, and you need to get...
Channels TV, Yiaga Africa has introduced a school of politics on television. Yes. So all the Twitter people, I'm sure they are hooked on here now. You get to now learn in very simple, irreducible terms how these things work, and you can then follow it, you know, bit by bit in small bits and understand it better. So this is exciting for Nigeria, because at the end of the day, you are now able to follow polling unit by polling unit results that perhaps you'll be waiting till tomorrow to, and then ask somebody to do the research to tell you how they voted in Ekiti, how they voted in Oye, how they voted in Ileje and all of those places. But we're seeing something beautiful going on here now.
Yeah, and I think that's what the era tries to achieve, that with this partnership, you can just go and vote, and it's tuning onto your TV, to the channels, television, and you can actually follow the result. And I believe that this is how we begin opening up the whole process. Usually we see this happening on other climes. We're also trying to let voters and citizens know that with this partnership with Yiaga Africa and channels, that's what you see happening and watching on TV in other climes is actually possible in Nigeria, and technology makes it easy for us to achieve this.
Absolutely. And so far, as we were talking, 134, we started this program about an hour ago with just less than 50. We've gone up to 134 results, and we're still monitoring for you. And as soon as we can make sense of what all of this means, we'll bring it out to you. So Ekiti East, this is so far what you can see and what you can get, the political parties and what they've garnered, and of course in Ekiti is jumped up again. So more votes have coming. And this is how the political parties have been able to perform. What is happening in other local government areas? In Ijero, this is what we can see. This is how the political parties are performing. But don't forget that it is not all the results. So far, 134 results have so far come in. But you can monitor how the political parties are performing. So if you look at Ikere, this is what Ikere is looking like right now, so far, with all the results that we have been able to enter onto this platform. That's what you get from Ikere. What is happening in Ekiti Southwest? This is so far the journey for all the political parties and what they've garnered as far as we have right now and this moment. But as much as we get, of course, we will get it. We are keeping our eyes right here on this very large, perhaps the largest local government by voting population in Ekiti State. This is the journey so far.
It's just exciting, and like I said, it's connected to how INEC performed early in the morning, and so for me, if INEC does its job well in terms of voter accreditation, makes it seamless, you reduce tension, and then at the end of the day you can pack up this quickly and everybody gets home as dry. But if it's tensed up, if the process is slow, at the end of the day it affects all the value chain of the electoral process. And for me, what we're doing here is to the credit of INEC that they are able to today bring out these results in such a way that we can have this number of results posted out for Nigerian people to see and follow. And kudos to Channels Television again and Yiaga Africa. I am hoping that we can keep this running for all of these periods to give Nigerians the opportunity to, by themselves, understand the electoral process, result management, and the integrity of the electoral process. Cynthia was talking about how elections, I tell people that it's outmoded to say votes don't count. When you keep saying votes don't count, it means that you are not following the incremental progress that is being made in our electoral process. And the beavers, as we saw today, didn't misbehave that much, and it's exciting that technology can help us to get out of so many. But it also shows that when stakeholders, put all the effort to get change and better outcomes for the electoral process, the result is what we're seeing right away.
So far, so good. This is what we're looking at. 140 results gotten out of the 2,445 results expected. So this is what you get as of now that we're monitoring for you. And of course, as soon as we get more, we will get back to you. I must sincerely thank you, Cynthia Mbamalu, the Director of Programs here at Yiaga Africa, and Ezenwa Uwagu is a board member of Yiaga Africa. Thank you so much, gentleman and lady, for coming on. I think I see you in a couple of minutes right here, because we see here, we're monitoring, we're keeping our eyes on the results so far.
So congratulations again.
Thank you so much. Stay with me. We'll take a break, everyone, and when we return, more about the conduct. How did INEC perform? What happened on the field? We analyze and break them down for you, but we're keeping our eyes right here, everyone. Take a look at the summary of what we have so far. If you stay with me right here, you get to know. You'll be in the know, the first to know what is happening as far as this election is concerned. 143 results so far entered in 2,445. And if you look at it, from these local government areas, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 local governments so far where results entered. We'll take a break, everyone. And when we come, more on what happened on the field as far as Ekiti governorship election is concerned. We'll talk more on who will be the next governor of Ekiti State. The people have decided, and you are watching. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us right here. The Channels Television studio in Ekiti, where Channels Television and Yiaga Africa are partnering on the election result analysis dashboard, where we're monitoring the election result as they are coming in, especially the result as being entered. INEC has allowed the iRev, where the results come in, and we've taken those results and put them right here for you to follow what is happening, and we're monitoring exactly what the different political parties and candidates have garnered so far in the process. So we'll take a look at the summary of what they've garnered so far. And so this is how it looks like, the chart for you. And if you look at it, you get a sense of how many results have come in and what they have gotten. But then if you look at how many of these results have come in, there are a lot of them from the different polling units, several of them that have come in from the different polling units, 152 as we speak. So from different polling units in Ekiti State, we've gotten several pages now, and we can go on and on and on and on. But let's get a sense of just where these results are coming in from. Yes, you can see for the candidate of the APC. That's a summary of what he's gotten and what he has as we speak right now. But again, what you need to also know is at the end of the day, the summary of all of this is in the numbers. In the numbers that you are saying. The numbers matter for this election, and of course we're looking at what local government and which of them have come in. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to 16, and there we go. Everyone, stay with us. And let's get some analysis started. I'm being joined now by Professor Olani, Professor of Political Science at the Federal University of Ekiti, and also Professor Samegu, who is an INEC supervising reg here in Ekiti. He monitored Ekiti. We spoke with him earlier on the field. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming.
Thank you.
I know you're from Ekiti State, so there's a lot that you can share with us. And Prof, from when we met on the field and now, what is your own, what is the major difference that you saw from earlier in the day and when the voting wrapped up?
Well, as I told you in the morning, the Commission has made a lot of investments for the kind of outcome that we are seeing. And I'm excited because the different levels of oversight and supervision that INEC has put in place is working. Today, there are issues that have been escalated up to the level of the chairman in Abuja, and then he gets back to those of us on the fields to react to this, you know, and we have done that, you know, with all the sense of responsibility you can think of. Where we have had shortfall or where beavers failed to work, we made available, you know, new ones, and they worked. Where the crowd was too much, we deployed more, you know, machines. And so what we are now seeing is precisely because we have done the due diligence in terms of our processes. And for me, it is easier for me to comment about our process than to do the analysis of how and why a particular candidate scored what. Because I would have been moving away from my work as somebody who functions. I
wouldn't even drag you into that.
Into that, you know.
I'll be dragging you back to the classroom if that's the case. But you are wearing the toga of an INEC official today, so I'm not taking you to your academic toga. But largely, Prof, what is very fundamental here is the election in Nigeria, the electoral law, and that's what was signed into law. And if you look at it, for example, what we are getting, this brings us to what INEC has done for the process. China Television and Yiaga Africa, the collaboration is what the law has permitted us to do, opened up the process, and we're hoping that the law will do more to allow us to do even better when it comes to our democratic and electoral process. But, I mean, for you, what comes out? What do you think the law has empowered INEC to do more compared to from Anambra election and Ekiti election?
Now, I think, you know, when we speak about this Electoral Act 2022, I think we must go back and give the credit to Nigerians. because this is a product of a whole, history of electoral reform agenda that civil society and citizens have driven right from the Uwais era. And we missed the opportunity to work with new electoral laws until this particular one. And there are many novel provisions from the point of view of INEC. It helps INEC, for example, to be more predictable in terms of holding on to the resources that it is going to use in the next, a year to the election, you have the money. The party primaries process has been clearly sanitized, even though we have continued to witness the irresponsibility of political parties. The encumbrances, for example, to electronic transmission of results has been removed. And in fact, if you read the way that section of the law is couched, INEC can even do electronic voting as once it is prepared to do so. So it has cleared the whole coast in terms of the possibilities.
So it's how much INEC can do now, not what the law has held them back on.
That roadblock has been removed.
You have a free road to right now.
So INEC can continue to, and if you look at from 2013, you have biometric register, you are infusing technology. So you are actually moving along that trajectory. We are not yet there at the point of electronic voting, but we have made so much progress. And the major problem with our elections since 1999, which is the handling of the collation and the movement of results from one level to another, that has already been, taken care of. And I think when I listen to Cynthia Mbamalu and Eze, it's a celebration of that, and I think from my own understanding, many more Nigerians are becoming encouraged that our votes will count, even though we are now confronted with the problem of vote buying and vote selling. But somebody said on the Geopolitical note that if votes don't have value, nobody will purchase buying them. So, but we really need to, for every progress we make, we have to pay a price.
Like a commodity, the buying and the selling votes also have a value for buying and selling.
That's what people are saying, which is true, because there was a time in this country when politicians simply do not even mobilize votes. They didn't mobilize voters, but they actually negotiated and got the result they wanted. So now you can't even do that. And if you look at the logic of the reform that INEC has also undertaken, the possibility of people in turnout to INEC determining the outcome of result is being reduced. And all of us should celebrate this.
Yeah. Let me bring Professor Lanio back into the conversation. Prof, as an Ekiti man and a professor of political science, so I'm going to put you right into the water now. I see how far you can swim on this one. The issue of vote buying, because Prof was mentioning that, this is not the first time. 2014, 2018, issue of vote buying has bedeviled elections in this state. Why? Why is the issue of vote buying a critical, an issue in Ekiti State?
Well, thank you very much. I will look at this from two angles. The first one is that the vote buying itself is a reaction to reforms by INEC. So it is because the politicians are not finding it easy to do rigging, to rig the traditional way. So the reforms put in place by INEC, have made rigging difficult, right? For instance, the ballot boxes are customized to the units. The results are announced at the polling units in the presence of everybody. So the politicians are unable to rig the traditional way, ballot slashing, ballot stopping, and all kind of thing. So the politicians now resorted to, buy votes. So it's a reaction to the reforms. So,
Prof, you agree with that, Prof?
It's a reaction to the reforms.
You agree with that, Prof?
It's a way.
There will be multiple explanations. So maybe this is one of them. But we can look for other explanations.
Because it's very difficult to reach through the traditional result, they have to buy the voters. Right? And there are two ways. You have the prepaid and the postpaid.
All right, I think there's something wrong with your audio. Just for a moment. Let me come back to you, Prof. Just hold on. No, not your fault. We'll try to check it and fix it. Prof, if you look at what we saw today, the bimodal, it looks a bit different. Did INEC change it? It changed in size from what I saw. I don't know how many people noticed it. Was there a change from the last two elections?
I think we need to focus on what is happening within INEC in terms of improvement we are seeing in the equipment we are deploying. I recall immediately we conducted the Anambra election, and I was privileged to be in Anambra. We had a meeting of the commission where the INEC chairman directed the ICT department that I don't want to hear about all the kinds of complaints about the performance of beavers. You therefore need to make drastic improvements to the equipment. And he specifically said there will be another set of standalone by-elections, I think on the 26th of February, and that we want to see the beavers perform better. So I was in Plateau for that, for one of those elections, and the performance of the beavers was very dramatic in terms of, the positive, responses of citizens. So I think there is a deliberate effort on the part of the Commission to improve the technology itself and deal with some of the challenges that have been reported in all the elections. And that's why, and I'm not saying this because I work in INEC, I think the level of responsiveness of INEC to public criticism and, is quite very impressive. So that is what I think we need to focus on. There is a deliberate effort within the Commission to respond to public criticism, which we cannot wish away. And I think people internally have also taken up the responsibility. I think that, for me, has been largely responsible. There's also a lot of improvement in training. In fact, speaking to many of those who were at the RAC centers yesterday, they took time to conduct refresher training and familiarize those who are using the beavers, with some, and many of them are beginning to see some of the challenges and how they can address them. So I think there's a lot of improvement. It's conscious. There's a deliberate message to respond to the desires and aspirations of Nigerians.
Let me come back to Professor Aziz Oladipo. Give us a sense, voting pattern in Ekiti State. And just for a moment, I'd like to go to the screen now to also, since we have Professor Olaniyan here, we might as well just talk about some of these issues. Now, for example, I look at the voting pattern in 2018, and which you might want to speak about. We earlier spoke about Ekiti. Of course, a lot of people will also talk about Ikere, which has a huge voting population, 61, and also a place like Oye with 60,000 votes, and a place like Ikole, 63,000, and also Idosi too. Also, Idosi, very notorious area, politically speaking, in Ekiti State. But give us an understanding about what has become a culture. A lot of people think, in Ekiti State, they punish those who are in office by not returning them into office. Put us through the pattern, political pattern in Ekiti State.
Well, thank you very much. We have a very high turnover of governors since the advent of democracy in 1999. And just like you mentioned, there is a kind of punishing governors that they think are not actually performing. Let me just say that in Ekiti State, the expectations are always very high. And at the end of the 4 years, most governors are found wanting. And so when the election comes around, it's always a time for them to punish. And that was what happened in 2014, during the first term of Governor Fayemi, you know, people, by then, people believed that he didn't perform up to expectation. He was too elitist. You know, that was when they brought the issue of stomach infrastructure, that he did a lot of work, but, you know, he did not, perform in the area of welfare, right? So, and that's why he was voted out in 2014, right? Now, in 2018, by that time, the government of Fayoshe has also lost, has also been found wanting, and so that's why they brought back Governor Fayemi, right? But Fayemi is not on the ballot now, so but he has a new person, and so there's this belief that this is a new person, and people may want to try him. But don't forget also that Governor Shegmoni, you know, has a lot of support from the working class, because they believe that during his first term, you know, he did very well in terms of payment of salary, in terms of payment of pension, and in terms of general civil service welfare. And so you see some of his supporters within the rank and file of civil service. So that's why we have to look out for the result from Ado, because that's where we have more of the working class, right? The pensioners, the civil servants. So the result from Ado, you know, I want to believe that you have more presence of SDP in Ado, all right, because of the sentiment.
All right. Right. So you look at Ado, right?
Yes.
Where again?
Yeah, Ado Ikere, then Umo side, and then Ise-Orun, because in 2018, the APC did very well in Ise-Orun local government. And that was what they used to neutralize the vote from Ikere. Right.
So I mean, Ado Ekiti, for example, yes, has the highest voting population. I mean, it has way over 171,000 votes, yes, and you see these they have within the range of 60,000 voters. But if you look at it now, what happened? It was that the PDP held sway in just about in Emure, in Ado Ekiti, in Ikere, and in Efon. So those 4 local government areas where PDP held sway in the last election. So the APC got the rest of the local government 4 out of 16, and APC got 12 out of 16 the last time. This was the pattern of the election the last time. Yes. But if you look at the margin here, this is very important. Anybody winning an election here will also need to look at the margin. APC had 44%, and this is what a lot of people will say, that how they allowed APC to get this much was what was significant also for the APC, because if you are able to garner as much of these votes in Ado Ekiti, if you add 28,000, which is in fact more than some 1 or 2 local government areas in Ekiti State, you've moved very much up, and this was it had a lot of effect on the chances of the PDP the last time. And you saw that it was basically a 2-horse race the last time, but this time around, you think it's going to be different? You think it's going to be different?
Yes, because we have 3 dominant parties this time around. And so we are going to have a lot of differences.
So you think it's a 3-horse race, right?
Yeah, it is, because but basically we are going to something is between the APC and the SDP, basically. So because the Shegmoni, like I said, Shegmoni has more support from the working class and the pensioners, right?
Based on his policies when he was in government. When he was at his first time as the governor.
Yeah. So we are going to have it's between APC and SDP.
So, but so far, this is what we're looking at.
Yeah.
The voting, as much as of the results so far that have come in, 186 so far out of 2,445. That is what, in fact, it's jumped to 187 years so far, the result that we have seen. But this is what the pattern, this is what the map is telling us as of now. 53% of those results have been entered, 19% for the PDP and 23%. You said it, that is basically mostly going to be between the permutation. I hope that it goes to the very end, because this is just very early in the day. We're still going to almost 30,000.
Yes, exactly. So, so it's basically between APC and SDP. But we are going to also have some surprises from F1, particularly because the PDP candidate is from F1 local government. So you expect
So we're already seeing that happening.
Yeah. So
because at the moment, from all of the votes that have been entered, out of the 30,000 votes, what we're seeing is that so far entered 228 for the PDP, and of course the APC had 212 so far from the result that have been entered.
And that's a very good outing for APC in that local government.
If APC have performed this far in F1.
In F1 local government.
You are surprised that they are going in that trajectory?
Yes, because F1 is a one-town local government, right? And so I was expecting PDP to have a very good performance in F1, but so far.
What about Elejameji?
Elejameji is predominantly PDP stronghold. But so far also, APC also making a very good outing, right?
But it's still early in the day.
Yeah, it's still early, so we still have a long way to go.
But in Ekiti, are you surprised so far?
I'm surprised because mostly I was expecting SDP to have more outing in Ado, because that's why you have the deputy governorship candidate of SDP from Ekiti. And in 2018, even 2014, 2018, APC did not win Ekiti 2. You know, although it was ACN then in 2014. So it didn't win Ekiti. It was PDP that won Ekiti, and also in 2018. But so far now, we are seeing something different, right? And that goes also to the fact that the coming of SDP really altered the balance against PDP. Because
SDP was in the race the last time, but perhaps the candidate going to the SDP is making a difference in that party.
Yeah.
And we're seeing the difference, like you said, is a 3-horse race, but it's still early in the day, too far to call, but so far, these are the percentage of votes that each of these political parties have garnered.
Exactly.
So we've not seen results from some of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No result has been entered so far from about 7 local government areas, but we're seeing tremendous movement from several of the local government area. But if you look at it from the polling unit point of view, maybe I'm looking at where some of the polling units are probably pull out a specific polling units for some of these politicians, some of the political actors in the race and how they perform. And I'm perhaps looking at what is happening. Of course, you see the jump, the more votes they garner tells you how much of turnout that you see in some of. Are you impressed with the turnout so far?
Yes, because so far we have the highest turnout surprisingly in 1999. So 1999 election, right? We had over 400,000 votes voter turnout in the same thing in 2007. In 2018, no, 2014, I think it was just over 200,000, less than 300,000. Last year, so it was over 300,000. So far, this year, I think we are going to have a better outing in terms of voter turnout, because you can see the enthusiasm. I voted, I'm from the Southwest, and by 9 o'clock this morning, the place was filled up, and I was the first person to cast my vote in my polling unit. And you can see the crowd, the enthusiasm. You know, people traveled from far away home to cast their votes. So I think it boils down to the confidence that the people are having in the electoral system, right? And people are now having a feeling that their votes will count, right? And so we have to give credit to INEC for the massive reform that they have carried out. And so we can see this. So I'm expecting a better turnout, much more than what we had in 2018. This time around.
I mean, for turnout, Prof, what are your thoughts?
Well, again, it's good to do some comparison across time and space. We have conducted election in Lagos, in a state constituency election in which turnout was less than 19%. In 2019,
that's a federal constituency election, I remember vividly.
Yeah.
I think it was in 2020 or so, or 2019.
Yes. Then in the 2019 general election, the average voter turnout was between 35 to 40. And we have seen even, lesser turnout in subsequent elections. Anambra was basically very poor. So if you are going to compare the ongoing election in Ekiti with many of these recent elections, this is, a complete departure from the recent trends. I haven't seen a clear workout of the percentage of turnout, but impression from what we have seen in many stations today would tell me that this is a better voter turnout, experience than the last 3-4 elections conducted off-season.
Yeah.
So what is the implication of this?
Well, the implication is that people are having more confidence in the electoral system. And also, we also have to look at the personalities of the candidates, particularly the coming of Engineer Shegmoni. There's massive mobilization, and also we have more people turning off for their PVC. So these are indications that up till 2 days ago, people were still registering for their PVCs in my local government. Yeah. So you can see the enthusiasm. You can see the, election is more or less becoming a kind of fun, right, in the polling unit, So I think it's good for the system, and it's quite encouraging.
We must have the partnership, which I consider to be very effective, between the INEC office in Ado, Ekiti, and civil society groups, particularly community-level campaign. And I've heard people speak about this, at stakeholders meeting. I was here a month ago for the policy dialogue on the Ekiti election, and that was the kind of message that I got. So I think if we also continue to intensify voter mobilization, improve awareness campaign, have candidates that can, incentivize people to come out, we are likely going to move away from, because it begins to worry me that you have a registered voter that in a population of people that are supposed to vote, less than half of the population, and then voter turnout will be like 30%. It raises fundamental question about the legitimacy of the government you are actually, you know. So
I must sincerely thank both of you, Professor Egu and Professor Lania, because I'd like you to go now because we still have to bring you back here in our studio because it's going to be a long night for us to monitor all of this. But thank you so much, Professor Egu, INEC Rec, and Professor Zizo Lania, Professor of Political Science at the Federal University of Ekiti. Thank you so much for staying with us. We'll take a break. And our attention will be on security. And of course, we are not keeping our eyes away from this board because it's going to be critical. 216 results so far entered out of 2,445. We have a long way to go, but we're not taking our eyes off the ball. We'll be right back, everyone. It's still the continued coverage of the Ekiti governorship elections. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us right here on our continued coverage of the Ekiti governorship election. Our eyes are on this dashboard, the election result analysis dashboard, in collaboration between Channels Television and Yiaga Africa. And, of course, our eyes are on what is happening as far as this election is concerned. Of course, these faces are one thing that you can be rest assured that they are garnering the votes based on what the people have said today. But again, out of the 2,445 results expected, 239 so far has been entered. We're working hard to ensure that you get some of these results as they're coming. So, of course, about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 local government. We do not have any result entered in those local government just yet, but we have results in about 11 or so local government, and we are bringing them right to you right here on Channels Television. Let's get the conversation restarted. I'm being joined by the DIG, who is in charge of this very exercise, coordinating some other commissioner of police and other senior officers, and over 17,000 police officers deployed for this election. DIG Kokuma, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you
so much. And of course, Professor Olani of the Federal University of Ekiti, a political scientist, is still with us. Thank you so much, Prof.
Thank you very much, sir.
In our Abuja, in our Lagos studio, rather, is data analyst Babajide Ogunson. Well, thank you so much, Babajide, for joining us tonight. Let me get your view first and foremost, Babajide. Give me a sense of what to make of this innovation into our electoral process, where Nigerians can see real time how these results have been put together. What are your views?
This perhaps is one of the most significant innovations that we see from the Independent National Electoral Commission. What has happened is, more than ever before, we've seen INEC's team of, especially the ICT team, provide a platform where everybody can be involved in electoral results. So this isn't just for those that are voting or for families or households in Ekiti. Wherever you are within Nigeria or even outside Nigeria, you can catch up with exactly what is going on. This time, 4 years ago, this solution was not available. This time when we started the Fourth Republic in 1999, this solution was not available. Tonight, I can easily tell you, because of this solution, the results of Ekiti Southwest have been completed. Without the INEC portal, I wouldn't be able to assert and make such statements. But based on the portal as we have it at this moment, the portal shows that all the results from Ekiti Southwest local government, which is just one of the 16 local governments, all have shown emphasis on all. All of these results are currently not only on the INEC server, they are available for everyone that is interested in what exactly happened in Ekiti Southwest. You can view these results. In simple terms, it's becoming almost impossible, perhaps using the word even impossible, for electoral results to be manipulated.
it significantly, yeah, Jide, for what you've said there. But so far, this is what we've been able to, through our systems that have been put in place, 251 results out of 2,445. I'd like to also mention that we're not calling the results or calling the winner or whoever in the race. We're just bringing to you what INEC has put in the public domain, right in your home and in your hand, whatever you may be watching on your tablet or on your phone. But Jide, give me a sense of what to make of the race. Professor Lani has said is three-horse race. That's what he has described the race. But so far, what has come significantly out for you in terms of the figures for this election?
Sure, there are lots of ways we can look at these figures to make it easy for viewers to understand. Yes, it might look like a three-horse race, but based on INEC's results, there are perhaps 16 horses in this race. But if we could look at it from the perspective of the three dominant horses, or to even make it easier by looking at what exactly is happening within the three districts which these horses will be playing. So if we were to look at what exactly will be going on in the northern district of Ekiti State, one local government comes up top, and that is Ikole. Ikole is the only local government among the 5 local governments in Ekiti North that has over 70,000 registered voters. The numbers have started coming up, but the numbers from all the wards and polling units from Ikole are still not completed yet. Another district to look at will be Ekiti Central, where Irekpodun is the district that has the highest number of registered voters. Again, that's the only local government in Ekiti Central that has over 70,000 registered voters. Now, finally, let's take a look at perhaps the most important district, and that is Ekiti South. In Ekiti South, we have 7 local governments, but Ado Ekiti comes up as the biggest. In Ado Ekiti, we have 170,000 registered voters, and based on INEC's viewing portal as at 6:55 p.m., 80% of the results from Ado Ekiti have been received on INEC's server. And it's quite correct, Shane, what you've said. It's important to let viewers know that we are not calling the results. What we are calling is what INEC's server is providing to us. The interesting thing is INEC will be aligning the results it has received from the server when it starts the final collation at each of the local government offices. Yes, collations will happen at the ward, collations will also happen at the local governments, and then we'll then have the final collation at INEC's state office.
So, I mean, indeed, these are some of the issues. We touch more on the issues, the numbers, and who is getting what and who is not getting anything much later. Let's take a look at what has happened in terms of security. Earlier today, of course, the EFCC made some arrests on the issue of vote buying in Ado Ekiti. Of course, we caught that right here on Chinese television. We understand that those arrests, there are more investigation. There are a lot of people who have thought that areas like Omuo, areas like Udosi, Oye, those are flashpoints that are being identified. But let's make an assessment. Let me speak with DIG Abayomi Kokumo. What are your preliminary, or let's get your thoughts or the assessment so far about the conduct of the people of Ekiti State in terms of any kind of incident of violence? Did you record any? How many arrests did you make?
Thank you very much. The election so far has been quite peaceful, relatively peaceful. We've not really recorded any major incident that could mar the process in any way. We had pockets of complaints, and security agents were there to take adequate steps required to restore normalcy. And at Okeila, we were able to make some arrests. Those who, of course, had conducted themselves in a disorderly manner, a manner that, of course, was capable of disrupting the process. That with us. The activities, of course, are being investigated for possible prosecution.
I mean, what are probably the kind of incident that happened that led to these arrests?
They actually got to a voting center where they had wanted to scare the people. They didn't really want voting exercise to take place. And the security agents were quick enough to pick them up before they could foment any trouble. And at Ishauru, the security agents were equally able to prevent snatching of a ballot box. In fact, the ballot box that was snatched, that was earlier snatched, was retrieved from the criminal elements. I think it was not clear to them that even where they had succeeded in stealing the ballot box wouldn't have been in any way useful to them. I understand from information from INEC that the ballot boxes, of course, have been customized. So ballot box used at polling booth A, for instance, may not be useful at polling booth B. So we've been able to effect the arrest of the suspects. Investigations, of course, investigation is ongoing for possible prosecution as early as practicable.
How many people did you arrest so far generally in the state in relation to this election?
As INEC is currently doing sorting and counting, we are equally trying to sort out those that so I cannot give you the exact
figure. Are they in double figures?
I can't really give you the exact figure.
But those I don't directly linked to the conduct of the election. It's just in that area that you mentioned.
They are already in the net. And, you know, results are coming in, including the results relating to number of arrests that were made coming to the center. We have commissioners of police in various senatorial districts. We have Assistant Inspector General manning the various senatorial districts. They are filing in their security reports to us. And I know too well, in a question of another an hour or two, we'll have gotten comprehensive statistics of those who are arrested, from where, and the nature of electoral offenses committed.
Prof, you heard what DIG said.
Yeah.
You look at the Ekiti people, there is this popular saying that almost every household you find a professor. Gentlemen and women you find in Ekiti people. But when it comes to election, some Ekiti people are not gentle like that.
It's a different ballgame.
Why? You're an Ekiti man.
Yeah.
You have that agitative blood in you, right?
It's a kind of contradiction, right? Just like you said, you know, enlightened citizens, you know, educated. But when it comes to election, you know, tensions are always very high.
And politics.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people will not forget too easily what happened in the Second Republic.
Yeah, because, you know, there was so much tension. And most of the elections conducted since the return of democracy, even before, you know, we always have this pocket of violence. I think except the session of 1999. I think to some extent 2003, but everything since 2007 we have this series of tension at every turn of election. I think it has to do with the fact that you know, politics is a very valuable business in Nigeria, and you have a lot of young, energetic people without much work to do, so to say. So you have people so much depending on politics, right? So the stakes are always very high, and you know it's a matter of winners take all, or winner takes all, right? So people will want to win so that you know, whoever has the power, you know, will be able to dictate the turn of events. So it has to do with the large number, to me, the large number of young people without, much activities to do. Ekiti is a civil service state, few industries, if any. So you have a lot of people depending on politics for survival. So that's part of what makes the election cycle so hotly contested.
Maybe some people will say that when you find educated people, they always want to prove they are right. So if you say there are a lot of professors in Ekiti State, he tells you the level, the numbers of very educated people that you find. And when you see people of Ekiti, you see how agitated when they're trying to prove they're right. But did you see any kind of agitation? Did you see, I saw enthusiasm. I saw Ekiti people today. They came out. I've covered more than 4 elections here in these states. And this is perhaps the time that I saw Ekiti people come out. And the way they came out was much of, you can see much of enthusiasm, anxiety, and passion in them. DIG, did you see the same? Maybe I saw it differently.
The turnout was quite large. The turnout was quite large. And in some areas, the security agencies had to contend so seriously with the loud crowd to ensure that we are able to restore order. Because some places, there were some pockets of rowdy situations. And we had to make additional deployment to ensure that the process was not in any way disrupted. No doubt, the turnout was large and quite encouraging.
I saw a bit, and I probably think that there will be a lesson in terms of the ordering and the coordination of the queues. They were not as coordinated, and you see people just onto each other on the queues. Is that a lesson you think your men and women will probably take to heart in Osun State if they're deployed there?
For every election, there are new lessons learned, and that, of course, will be taken further to impact on future elections. Let me quickly let you know this, that the rowdiness, the rowdy situation you see in some polling booths had been responsible as a result of the fact that the officers who were deployed to the various polling booths had been admonished to display the highest level of civility. So you couldn't find anywhere in Ekiti State, no polling booth in Ekiti State where any of the security agencies or any security personnel had been found wanting in the discharge of his duties. They have acted most professionally with high sense of civility.
Interesting. But what's the lesson that you're taking away from Ekiti State? You were in Anambra State. That was a very tough election to prosecute. But now it looks like you were not as tense as you were in Anambra State. Because when I saw you at about this time in Anambra State, you were not looking as relaxed. But here in Ekiti, you look a bit relaxed because I'm not sure you had so much of an incident on your hand to deal with. But what lesson do you say that is worth learning?
We were able to learn a lot of lessons. I said for each election, there are new lessons learned. And of course, this will manifest in our operation plans, in our operation orders in subsequent elections. I want to assure you, Joe, that the next election we'll be having in Osun will be much better than what you have seen today. And of course, the general election will be much, much better come 2023.
We heard about issue of the need to mop the small arms and ammunitions that were in hands of non-state actors before this election. Did you come across any of such ammunitions or small arms? and especially those who had a fear based on what happened in Owo and some of these threat analyses that came up. Any signal to point into those factors?
The mop-up exercise was strictly and essentially the business of the Commissioner of Police domicile here in Ekiti State. That he had done before those of us from Abuja and those of us drawn from other parts of Nigeria came on board strictly for the election exercise. And that was what informed our reason for actually putting in place 2 layers of security checks at the borders, inlets and outlets of Ekiti State. Having mopped up illegal small arms within, we had these strong feelings that criminal elements may want to bring in arms and ammunition from contiguous states. And that was why we have these 2 layers of checks. And we have earlier appealed to members of the public to please cooperate with us, and they did cooperate maximally to ensure that they really submitted themselves to security checks, and throughout the period of the election, nothing untoward were recorded from those border towns.
I'm trying to look into some of these results that have come in. So far, a lot of results have come in from Ilawe. I'm trying to look if we have all the results from Ilawe. A lot of it have come in, but I'm not sure if we've had all. From what we're seeing, from this result, it's quite interesting that Ilawe is a very big town in Ekiti State, and we've had so much of these results coming so far. Prof, what are your thoughts on some of these results on the polling units so far that we're looking at?
Thank you very much. Personally, I'm from the Southwest local government with our headquarters at Ilawe. So I'm not really surprised because the Southwest is actually predominantly a stronghold of EFCC. And you can see that this is reflected in the results coming out from the local government. So, but I think one thing we should also put into consideration is the politics between the PDP and the SDP, because most of the people in the SDP actually moved from PDP, right? And so that's a factor. So the 2 results for PDP and SDP, should have been won, if not because of the politics between the 2, or the politics that led to the Shegwoni leaving to join the SDP. Right. So generally, it still follows the pattern, right? So you have the PDP winning a form, which is the local government of the candidates. So I'm also hoping that Shegwoni will also likely win Idosi, because that is his local government, right? So I don't know whether we have the result for Idosi local government.
How this is going so far. So about 308 results so far entered. We just crossed almost over 10% of the results so far that has been entered. Out of 2,445, we've had 308 results so far entered. But if you look at it,
let's check those local government.
This is Ekiti. This is the result that have come in so far in Ekiti. Ekiti West. That's all, yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of after Ado.
Okay, that's the Kera, sorry. And,
no, that's Ado.
Okay, that's Ado, yeah.
No, upper.
Yeah?
No,
This?
No, on top of Ado. Yeah, that should be Idosi.
Oh, that's the record.
Oh,
right. And this is Fabio.
Yeah, that's Idosi.
So this is what we have so far.
That's not surprised.
Are you surprised?
Yeah, I'm surprised because that is the local government of Engineer Shegoni. So, but the EFCC is making a very good
outing there
so far.
Yeah. Let me take this to Babajide Ogunsawo in our Lagos studio. Babajide, what are your views on 311 results that we know so far out of the 2,445? What are your views? Prof here is making the permutations about where some of these candidates are, their base, their strongholds, and what we're saying. There's a lot of inroads that some of the candidates are making outside of their strongholds.
So, out of all these 16 strongholds shown, not all the strongholds clearly have equal voting strength. So I'd like to discuss it from three perspectives. The first is to look at what has happened, to look at what is happening, and then the final perspective is to look at what is about to happen. And all of these perspectives will be as at the INEX data portal at 7:05 p.m., which is about 15 minutes away. What has happened first? What has happened is from the INEX portal, which again, there might be some slight disparities because of internet connectivity. What INEX servers are currently showing as at what has happened is that they have 4 local government results in their server. Those four local governments have all their results submitted. In Ekiti, Northern District, INEX states that it has all the results from Ilemeje, I think that's the right pronunciation. From Ekiti Central, INEC is saying that it has all the results from Efon, local government. And from Ekiti Southern District, INEC servers shows that it has all the results from Emure and Ekiti Southwest. So in all, INEC is saying that it has all the results uploaded in 4 out of 16 local governments. So that summarizes what has happened. What is happening, Sheung? Based on INEC servers, as at 7:05 p.m., it is stating that it has the results of 87% of all the local governments. In other words, 87% of all the polling units results have been uploaded. That gives us an inclination of how soon we will be having all of these results. Almost 90% of all results from polling units have been uploaded to the servers. Now, what is about to happen? And I would like to talk about that from 3 of these districts in Ekiti. In Ekiti North, where we have the largest voting block in Ikoli, which has over 70,000 registered voters, INEC is stating that it has 120 results out of 189 polling units. In Ekiti Central, where Irekpodun is the local government to keep your eyes on, INEC states that out of 174 polling units, it already has the results of 172. In Ekiti South, where you should keep your eyes on Ado Ekiti, INEC is stating that out of 344 polling units in Ado Ekiti local government, it has already received, uploaded onto its server safely 289 out of 344 results from Ado Ekiti's polling units. So in all, it is very likely that in any time from now, we'll be seeing completed results from that big local government in Ekiti Central, Irekpodun. And that is because, as at 15 minutes ago, INEC stated that it had already received 172 results out of 174 results it is expecting. And so when these results start coming in, what we'll be doing within the next couple of minutes will be to look at the results as released and as posted on INEC server, which are still not the official results, but we'll be keeping an eye closely to look at what exactly do these results state in terms of what do the results give to each of the political parties and their candidates?
Of course, Babajide, one thing that is going to be very important also is a 16-horse race coming down to a 3-horse race. Not so much of a neck-and-neck, but they're making their own strides as far as they can, as far as the result that we know. But Babajide, give us a sense of what could happen to INEC's collation process, which, of course, where we see that these returning officers have to come. Is it possible they have to come to the state headquarters to collate these results manually, and we see it being announced? Do you see this process somewhat being overtaken by a digital process such as this?
Hopefully, but I'll tell you one interesting fact I've been able to see. From INEX portal, again, I state that as at 7:05 p.m., INEX portal had released, and it had stated that it had the results from four local governments. Now, here are the facts. INEC has completed the results, the digital results it has on its server for the local government in Ekiti, Northern District, Ilejemeje. But the fact shows that it has been able to do this because in that local government, it has the least number of voters. In other words, Ilejemeje in Ekiti North has the least number of registered voters. And that is the only local government that INEC currently states it has received all the election results. Going to Ekiti Central, from INEC's portal, it shows that all the results from all the polling units in Efon local governments have been submitted. The interesting thing as well is that Efon local government, among all the 4 local governments in Ekiti Central, Efon local government has the least number of registered voters. And to Ekiti Southern District that has 7 local governments. We've seen results from Ekiti Southwest and Emurik, all completed based on the report from INEX portal. But it's interesting to also know that Ekiti Southwest and Emurik are the 2 local governments in Ekiti Southern District that has the least number of registered voters. The summary shown is that all the local governments that INEX portal shows that it has received all of its results are the local governments in each of these districts that have the least number of registered voters. So clearly what it means is that there seems to be, with the local governments that have more registered voters, there perhaps was a delay in vote counting and in accreditation, followed by voting, and that has taken time to count all the votes. In local governments that have fewer number of accredited people, fewer number of registered people, they got accredited quickly, and we've seen the results coming out as well. So this seems to be normal, which is the fewer the number of registered voters in the polling units, the faster the process. So there's absolutely nothing abnormal based on how these results have been coming out.
And when we come back, attention is still right here on the process. Of course, we've been looking at security situation and the security operatives for these elections. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us on our continued coverage of the Ekiti governorship election 2022. We'd like to let you know that so far, over 2,200 polling unit results have so far been uploaded on the INEC portal, and we're trying to get all of these results on our dashboard. And as soon as the more we get, the more you see, and so that you can be in the know of what the trends are. Babajide, what is going to be significant, not only, for this election is not only someone who gets the highest number of votes, but also who has a spread I'm not sure there has been a time when an election has gone into a runoff in terms of state governorship election in Ekiti State. Someone predicted that the election might not end the first ballot. Do you see that happening?
I think this election will end in the first ballot. Again, looking at how what happened in 2014, what happened in 2018, and looking at even some of the results that have come in, it will be, there's a low probability that this election wouldn't end in the first ballot. We've seen, again, we can look at how the governor won in 2018. He had a strategy that he ran across the 3 senatorial districts, and it seems that is the same pattern that the candidates of the APC, the PDP, and the SDP are also using, which is to try and win in each of those senatorial districts and not just focus on the districts that they are from. So in 2018, from Ekiti North, which had 5 local governments, the candidates Kayode Fayemi then won all the 5 local governments in Ekiti North. In Ekiti Central, which has 4 local governments, candidate Kayode Fayemi then won 3 out of the 4 local governments in Ekiti Central. And in Ekiti South, which has 7 local governments, candidate Kayode Fayemi won 4 out of 7 of these local governments. So that has been the strategy, and that's also the similar strategy that even candidates Ayo Fayose applied in 2015 when he won that election. So we see that following their campaigns, following how they've been moving in the last 3 months, especially looking at what they've been doing in the last 1 month, no candidate has focused on just one local government. For instance, in 2018, even though Ado-Ekiti has the highest number of registered voters in Ekiti, not just in Ekiti South, but in all of Ekiti, Ado-Ekiti is such a big local government that even though candidate Kayode Fayemi lost in Ekiti, in Ado-Ekiti in 2018, was still able to win the elections overall, and that's because he made sure that his margin of loss in Ado-Ekiti wasn't much, and he then consolidated by increasing his margins across all the local governments. So in the next 1 hour, what we'll be doing is running some permutation and combinations on the results that have been uploaded, not officially declared yet, but the results that have been uploaded on INEC server. We'll use that to make inferences and guide voters on if their decisions and who they voted for across the local governments did win or is projected to win. Again, we will not be able to call, and I will not be able to declare any final results. All we can do is make use of the portal that INEC has brilliantly provided you and I and all viewers around the world to be able to compile these results independently and then make our own inferences, which is what the portal really just allows us to do. Compile the results independently and then make your inferences or celebrate while you wait for the official declaration by INEC.
I look at this again, and Professor Olani here and I were talking about what it takes to win an election. In a general election, you imagine that if you want to win an election in Nigeria, you have to put in consideration states like Kano, Bauchi, Kaduna, Rivers, Lagos State. These 5 states are fundamentally the determinant of who wins election. If you get more votes in this state, it goes a long way to impact on your chances. And so we look at local governments like Ado-Ekiti, Ikole, you look at Irakwadu, and a few other local governments like that. But significantly, if you look at the voting pattern, has there been a departure from how those who own strongholds have performed and those who eventually emerge as winners?
You are correct, Sean, which is what we're keeping an eye on. What we, prior to the analysis, what we should be interested as well in is the voter turnout. Once the voter turnout is large, then it gives a lot of candidates opportunities to make their own permutations, and we're not yet sure, we can't conclude yet that the voter turnout in Ekiti was was high. What we know is that in the election, or the governorship election that was conducted in Ondo State, what we saw was that the voter turnout then was only 35%. In other words, only 3 out of 10 registered voters came out on election day to vote. And we saw what happened in Anambra, which was the last governorship election before now, where on a database of 2.4 million registered voters, only 253,000 people came out to vote in Anambra. Only a 10% voter turnout was what we witnessed in the last election. And from the results so far that has been released, we see that this election will have a significantly higher turnout than 10%, but we're not sure if the election will be able to get to that our preferred minimum of 50%. That is the preferred minimum, whereby 50% of all registered voters turn out to cast their votes. And within the next, give or take, within the next couple of minutes, I should be able to share some insights as to what the voter turnout in each of these local governments look like. And from that, we could be able to make some inferences on what should be the expected total voter turnout as these elections have now almost been concluded.
Let's take a look at security again. The coalition attention will shift to INEC as soon as some of the officers in the local government areas start reporting to the INEC office. In terms of security, it's already dark now out there. It's nightfall, and what kind of security these officials have in there available to them?
We have actually made adequate deployment. This we have done a couple of days back, and all the security personnel were deployed at the various centers, collating centers, will all be collapsed, will all meet at the state headquarters of INEC, where we expect the final result. And it is not only the Nigerian police deployment we have, we also have deployments from other services. So we have enough personnel on the ground to provide adequate security for the exercise, collation, and of course the announcement of results.
I'd like to put you on the spot. Has the police paid the welfare of the officers deployed yet?
Yes, capital yes.
100%?
100%.
Because there's always that problem when they are deployed for election duties. The issue of the welfare is always a problem, and some of them never get it.
The problem we've experienced in the past had to do with technical hitches. Some not having correct account number submitted for processing or such allowances. But we are here, I'm making it known publicly that all officers and men deployed for this exercise had been adequately paid. They've been paid all their special duty allowances.
Did the police retrieve the protection given to politically exposed persons and VIPs before this election?
That we did.
Because we saw a few of the politicians who moved around with their police escorts and all of that.
That we did. I went around a number of places and I couldn't find one. That we did. There was a clear standing instruction that such personal aids from the police should report back to base, and that is exactly what they did. And that equally had assisted us tremendously in placing sanity at the various polling booths, various polling centers, because in the past we've had instances where such aids to VIPs were used in the most unprofessional manner. To guide against such occurrence, we took the bold step to withdraw them. And as soon as the exercise is over, we would, of course, restore such aids to go back to their principals.
Let me come to you, Prof. From your own standpoint and the results we've seen so far, Ekiti people seems to have laid some kind of template that may be applicable, because every time, because these off-season South-cycle elections in Ekiti and Osun, there's a way the Ekiti election affects the Osun election. A political party who performs low in Ekiti will prepare ahead of Osun. And we saw it was a signal to Rauf Aregbesola as soon as Kayode Fayemi lost, when Fayose won in all the 16 local government areas. 2014, when Kayode Fayemi lost to Fayose in all the 16 local government areas. So, what do you see happening? I mean, the influence or the effect of the Ekiti election on the Osun election?
Yeah, the same pattern, I think, will also happen this time around too, particularly if the trend continues with the APC having a kind of upper hand. So we should also expect the same trend to continue or to happen in Osun State. So because the results, if it favors, if it goes the other way too, to PDP, it will also energize the PDP political actors in Osun State. So it's definitely going to have effects.
We spoke about vote buying before you came, and another factor was fake news. Did you look into those issues? Because there were stories that some candidate pulled out. One came on Thursday, the other came on Friday, stroke Saturday morning. These were obvious fake news. And we saw some signals of vote buying. In fact, the EFCC made some arrests on issues of vote buying.
Vote buying, I've said before now, that there has always been a kind of mutual understanding between the buyer of votes and the seller of votes. It's something that is often planned and executed in total secrecy. So if we do not have information, intel, as regards those who are buying and those who are selling, it will be very, very difficult to lay hands on them. It will be very, very difficult to effect the arrest of those who are involved in vote buying and selling. But we've had our ears on the ground, and we had hoped we will, of course, have intel, we'll have enough of information concerning that, so that we'll have been able to lay our hands on such criminal elements for investigation and possible prosecution. But
all right, let me go to our Lagos studio with Babajide Ogunsanwo. This election will be significant, Babajide. INEC had come out to say this is the first major election after the signing of the Electoral Act. For you, in terms of the figures that we are seeing and in the trend of this election, what if you want to win an election in Nigeria, you have to put in consideration states like Kano, Bauchi, Kaduna, Rivers, Lagos State. These 5 states are fundamentally the determinant of who wins election. If you get more votes in this state, it goes a long way to impact on your chances. And so we look at local governments like Ado-Ekiti, Ikole, you look at Irakwadu, and a few other local governments like that. But significantly, if you look at the voting pattern, has there been a departure from how those who own strongholds have performed and those who eventually emerge as winners?
You are correct, Sean, which is what we're keeping an eye on. What we, prior to the analysis, what we should be interested as well in is the voter turnout. Once the voter turnout is large, then it gives a lot of candidates opportunities to make their own permutations, and we're not yet sure, we can't conclude yet that the voter turnout in Ekiti was high. What we know is that in the election, now the governorship election that was conducted in Ondo State, what we saw was that the voter turnout then was only 35%. In other words, only 3 out of 10 registered voters came out on election day to vote. And we saw what happened in Anambra, which was the last governorship election before now, where on a database of 2.4 million registered voters, only 253,000 people came out to vote in Anambra. Only a 10% voter turnout was what we witnessed in the last election. And from the results so far that has been released, we see that this election will have a significantly higher turnout than 10%, but we're not sure if the election will be able to get to that our preferred minimum of 50%. That is the preferred minimum, whereby 50% of all registered voters turn out to cast their vote. And within the next, give or take, within the next couple of minutes, I should be able to share some insights as to what the voter turnout in each of these local governments look like. And from that, we could be able to make some inferences on what should be the expected total voter turnout as these elections have now almost been concluded.
Let's take a look at security again. The coalition attention will shift to INEC as soon as some of the officers in the local government areas start reporting to the INEC office. In terms of security, it's already dark now out there. It's nightfall, and what kind of security these officials have in there available to them?
We have actually made adequate deployment. This we have done a couple of days back, and all the security personnel were deployed at the various centers, collating centers, will all be collapsed, will all meet at the state headquarters of INEC, where we expect the final result. And it is not only the Nigerian police deployment we have, we also have deployments from other services. So we have enough personnel on the ground to provide adequate security for the exercise, collation, and of course the announcement of results.
I'd like to put you on the spot. Has the police paid the welfare of the officers deployed yet?
Yes, capital yes.
100%?
100%.
Because there's always that problem when they are deployed for election duties. The issue of the welfare is always a problem, and some of them never get it.
The problem we've experienced in the past had to do with technical hitches. Some not having correct account number submitted for processing or such allowances. But we are here, I'm making it known publicly that all officers and men deployed for this exercise had been adequately paid. They've been paid all their special duty allowances.
Did the police retrieve the protection given to politically exposed persons and VIPs before this election?
That we did.
Because we saw a few of the politicians who moved around with their police escorts and all of that.
That we did. I went around a number of places and I couldn't find one. That we did. There was a clear standing instruction that such personal aids from the police should report back to base, and that is exactly what they did. And that equally had assisted us tremendously in placing sanity at the various polling booths, various polling centers, because in the past we've had instances where such aids to VIPs were used in the most unprofessional manner. To guide against such occurrence, we took the bold step to withdraw them. And as soon as the exercise is over, we would, of course, restore such aids to go back to their principals.
Let me come to you, Prof. From your own standpoint and the results we've seen so far, Ekiti people seems to have laid some kind of template that may be applicable, because every time, because these off-season South-cycle elections in Ekiti and Osun, there's a way the Ekiti election affects the Osun election. A political party who performs low in Ekiti will prepare ahead of Osun. And we saw it was a signal to Rauf Aregbesola as soon as Kayode Fayemi lost, when Fayose won in all the 16 local government areas. 2014, when Kayode Fayemi lost to Fayose in all the 16 local government areas. So, what do you see happening? I mean, the influence or the effect of the Ekiti election on the Osun election?
Yeah, the same pattern, I think, will also happen this time around too, particularly if the trend continues with the APC having a kind of upper hand. So we should also expect the same trend to continue or to happen in Osun State. So because the results, if it favors, if it goes the other way too, to PDP, it will also energize the PDP political actors in Osun State. So it's definitely going to have effects.
We spoke about vote buying before you came, and another factor was fake news. Did you look into those issues? Because there were stories that some candidate pulled out. One came on Thursday, the other came on Friday, stroke Saturday morning. These were obvious fake news. And we saw some signals of vote buying. In fact, the EFCC made some arrests on issues of vote buying.
Vote buying, I've said before now, that there has always been a kind of mutual understanding between the buyer of votes and the seller of votes. It's something that is often planned and executed in total secrecy. So if we do not have information, intel, as regards those who are buying and those who are selling, it will be very, very difficult to lay hands on them. It will be very, very difficult to effect the arrest of those who are involved in vote buying and selling. But we've had our ears on the ground, and we had hoped we will, of course, have intel, we'll have enough of information concerning that, so that we'll have been able to lay our hands on such criminal elements for investigation and possible prosecution. But
all right, let me go to our Lagos studio with Babajide Ogunsanwo. This election will be significant, Babajide. INEC had come out to say this is the first major election after the signing of the Electoral Act. For you, in terms of the figures that we are seeing and in the trend of this election, what significant impact do you think the new Electoral Act 2022 has on this election? And if you look at history of our elections, any comparison, what comes out to you?
I think the most significant thing about this election is, and with the Electoral Act, is we clearly now know who will determine and who will decide the future of this country. And we'll take a case of what exactly is going on in Ekiti. 988,000 people registered to vote. 1 in 3 of these voters are below the age of 35. 1 in 3 of these voters is a student. And these are the facts from the INEC's own system. Interestingly, it shows that the elders are getting less, are taking the back seats in this election. And what do I mean? As an elder, you are classified as an elder once you are 65 and above. And based on the information we have from INEC, there are only 122,000 people that registered in Ekiti that are above the age of 65. In other words, only 12% of those that have registered in Ekiti can be classified as elders. The majority is shown students. And who are these students? Students that are not just students, but students that are really young. Why do I finally see that what will influence and shape how these students and the young make their decisions? It will often be based on what does the future look like. And for me, as we continue seeing the results coming in, a lot of these students will take their positions and should take their choices going into even Osun's election based on which candidate offers you the best hope of a brighter future.
Interesting indeed. Babajide Ogunsa, our data analyst. Thank you so much, Babajide. We'll just take a breather for a few hours, and of course we'll be back with more results analysis right here on the channel. Thank you so much, Professor Aziz Olaniro, for joining us tonight, and DIG Johnson Kokumo, thank you so much for coming to. I appreciate it. Everyone, we're still keeping our eyes, of course, on what is happening as far as the collaboration with China's television and Yiaga Africa is concerned. Of course, the election result analysis dashboard, the ERAD. You can follow all what is happening online, hashtag Ekiti Decide, hashtag ERAD, and you get to be in the picture as we're bringing to you the result has been entered. Over 2,200 results so far entered on the INEC portal, and we're bringing all of those together digitally for you to see. We'll take a break, everyone, from our coverage to go back to regular programming, and we will be back shortly. Stay with China's Television.